There is a moment that comes to every person at some point in their life. A moment when the weight of circumstances seems to press down with an unbearable force, when the gap between the life you have and the life you hoped for feels impossibly wide, when everything you reach for slips further away. It is in those moments that the ancient philosophy of Stoicism reveals its most extraordinary gift. Not the promise of escape, not the comfort of easy answers, but something far more enduring. A way of meeting life exactly as it is, without flinching, without collapse, with clarity and with an unbroken spirit. Stoicism was not born in sheltered halls or peaceful retreats. It was forged in the fires of real human suffering. Epictetus, one of its most luminous teachers, was a slave who endured the very worst that one person can inflict on another and yet spoke of inner freedom with more conviction than kings. Marcus Aurelius held the most powerful office in the ancient world and spent the majority of his reign leading armies through brutal campaigns, watching plagues devastate entire regions, and presiding over grief on a scale most people cannot imagine. Seneca navigated the treacherous courts of Nero, faced exile, conspiracy, and ultimately his own ordered death. These were not men who philosophized from a distance. They knew what it meant to suffer. And what they left behind is not theory but practice, not comfort but transformation. The first principle the Stoics offer is the art of distinguishing between what is genuinely up to us and what is not. This may appear simple, but living by it fully is one of the most profoundly liberating things a human being can do. Consider how much of your daily anxiety, your restlessness, your quiet background unhappiness comes from resisting things that have already happened, from wishing other people would behave according to your preferences, from fearing outcomes you cannot determine. The Stoics draw a clear and uncompromising line. On one side of that line sits everything you can genuinely shape: your attention, your intentions, the quality of your effort, the character you bring to every interaction. On the other side sits the vast majority of what happens in the world around you. The Stoic does not become indifferent to that world, but they no longer bleed energy into things beyond their influence. The second principle is the practice the Stoics called the premeditation of adversity, deliberately imagining loss before it arrives. Where most people prefer to look away from difficulty, the Stoic turns toward it. Epictetus encouraged his students to spend time each morning contemplating what might go wrong, not to breed dread, but to strip away the shock that makes misfortune so destabilizing. When you have already imagined losing what you value, you are far less likely to be undone when the losing comes. And something even more important happens through this practice. The things you have right now become luminous. When you truly reckon with the fact that the people you love are mortal, that this morning is not guaranteed to return, that the ordinary moments of your life are in fact extraordinary, gratitude becomes not an occasional feeling but a steady, unwavering presence. The third lesson is the principle Marcus Aurelius described as the love of fate, meeting whatever comes with not merely acceptance but genuine embrace. This was the most demanding of Stoic teachings and perhaps the most revolutionary. It does not ask you to pretend that hard things are not hard. It asks you to recognize that whatever arrives in your life is the exact material from which your character can be forged. Suffering does not interrupt your development. In the deepest sense, suffering is your development. Every setback, every disappointment, every moment where the world fails to cooperate with your plans contains within it an invitation to discover what you are actually made of. The fourth principle is the cultivation of inner silence. Seneca warned repeatedly against the kind of life spent fleeing your own thoughts, filling every quiet moment with noise, surrounding yourself with company not from genuine warmth but from a terror of being alone with yourself. The Stoic practice of silence is not emptiness. It is the opposite, a richness of inner attention that grows the more faithfully you tend to it. The person who has learned to sit with their own mind without distraction, to observe their thoughts without being swept away by them, has developed a kind of inner companionship that no external circumstance can remove. The fifth lesson is freedom through discipline. Epictetus taught throughout his life that freedom is not a gift that circumstances grant you. A person can be enslaved in body and free in spirit. A person can live surrounded by luxury and be imprisoned by craving, by fear, by the desperate and exhausting need for other people's approval. Real freedom, the Stoics insisted, is the freedom from being governed by your own impulses. when you no longer need to react to every provocation, when you can pause and choose your response rather than simply discharge whatever feeling arises first, you have claimed something more valuable than any external liberty that the world could offer. The sixth principle is the Stoic understanding of impermanence. Marcus Aurelius wrote that entire generations rise and dissolve like morning mist, that the greatest names and the mightiest empires leave barely a trace in the long river of time. He did not find this terrifying. He found it clarifying. When the drama consuming your attention right now is placed inside that vast perspective, it finds its proper proportion. And the beautiful things in your life, the relationships, the moments of genuine connection, the quiet pleasures you may be taking for granted, become more precious because you understand they are fleeting. Impermanence is not the enemy of meaning. It is the very source of it. The seventh lesson is the Stoic insistence that virtue is the only genuine good. Health can be taken, wealth can vanish overnight, reputation can be dismantled in an instant. But the person who has cultivated wisdom and courage, who has practiced fairness in their dealings with others, who has exercised real restraint over their own desires, carries something within them that no reversal of fortune can confiscate. The Stoics did not say that material things are without value. They placed them in their correct position, useful when present, not catastrophic when absent, and never worth sacrificing your integrity to obtain or to keep. The eighth principle concerns our bond with other people. Stoicism is sometimes understood as a philosophy of withdrawal, of retreating into the self. But the Stoics were deeply committed to the idea that we belong to one another, that every human being is a member of a single vast community. Marcus Aurelius prepared himself each morning to encounter people who would frustrate, deceive, and disappoint him. He resolved not to be infected by their confusion, but to hold to his own standard, meeting their shortcomings with patience and understanding rather than contempt. This is not weakness or passivity. It is one of the most difficult and most humane practices a person can undertake. The ninth lesson is the teaching of effort over outcome. The archer draws the bow with full attention, aligns their breath, releases with skill and care, and then lets go. Where the arrow travels from that moment forward is beyond their authority. The Stoic practice is not the practice of controlling what happens in the world, but of acting with such integrity and wholeness that you could not have acted better regardless of what followed. A life built on this foundation is freed from the tyranny of results, from the desperate need for the world to confirm your worth through outcomes. The doing, when done rightly, is already complete in itself. The 10th and final lesson is the simplest and perhaps the most important of all: keep returning. Stoicism is not something you master once and then possess forever. It is a practice you come back to day after day, moment after moment. Marcus Aurelius was the ruler of the most powerful empire on earth and still had to remind himself every morning of what he believed. He still had to choose patience when impatience would have been easier, still had to notice his own reactions and consciously redirect them toward wisdom. The philosophy does not make you immune to the weight of being human. What it offers is a way of being human with your eyes open, meeting each moment with the full weight of your attention, your integrity, and your willingness to begin again no matter what came before. The Stoics lived in a world radically different from our own, yet the struggles they wrote about, the restless mind, the hunger for control, the fear of loss, the longing for validation, are as alive today as they were 2,000 years ago. Their voices have never gone silent because the human heart has never stopped needing what they offered. Begin where you are, practice what you can, and trust that every time you return to this ancient path, you are building something within yourself that nothing in the world can take away.